Hell is Us on Steam Deck. So this game is coming out in around 3 months, September 4th. There's no deck compatibility known at the moment, but we got a demo that is open to everyone. So if you want to play it, there's a demo available. It's a UE5 game. The system requirements are insanely high. So let's see what happens on Steam Deck. So let's hit play and cover our faces. Once we head into the game, it'll be on borderless full screen. So basically 800p. Everything on the absolute lowest. I mean, it's a UE5 game that has very high requirements. TSR 3D resolution at 50%. This is basically a pixel count of performance FSR. It allows you to go as low as 40%. And basically use FSR 3 on performance. Okay, settings have changed that require the game to be restarted. Gotcha. Alright, so I restarted the game. For some reason that's needed to apply FSR 3, and once you apply FSR or any upscaler, it's going to disable the TSR 3D resolution. And I want to thank the sponsor, Instant Gaming. On Instant Gaming you can find cheaper games for PC, PlayStation, Xbox and Nintendo Switch. And they have 24/7 support. You can find Elden Ring Night Rain for $36.49 US, GTA 5 for $11.66, Clair Obscure Expedition 33 for $32.71, and you can also find games that haven't released yet, such as Slaughter Blade for PC for $52.62 US. All the game we're playing today, Hell is Us, and due to this partnership with Instant Gaming, we're giving away one free game each month to one of you guys. 3 days ago, one of the giveaways finished, and the MZA that won chose this game, Kingdom Hearts Integrum Masterpiece, so this $72 game. So make sure to hit participate, follow myself and Instant Gaming in social media, and thanks again Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video. Let's continue. Okay, so we're into the game. Again, performance upscaling, so 50%, 800p, 400p internally, although this doesn't look great for FSR 3. Yeah, it's very chunky. Oof. But again, the requirements for this game are insanely high. Let's see that shadow quality on the lowest setting. Yeah, I can see the pixelation of those shadows. And the camera sensitivity for some reason is insanely high. But okay, we're above 30 FPS. I think we can go a bit higher, at least when it comes to resolution. Alright, so after a little bit of back and forth, I think I found quote-unquote the best settings, but I wasn't expecting this. I'm pretty surprised with the performance, all things considered. 800p, instead of using FSR 3, I think TSR actually looks better in this case when it comes to performance and visual stability. And some stuff can actually be cranked up. So first of all, 50% resolution. You can do 55 or 60%, but I'm going to talk about that later. Why anti-aliasing on high? Well, on medium or low, it actually looks more pixelated, which makes sense, is anti-aliasing, but in this case, is the quality of the TAA, barely a performance hit in this case. And the image quality is significantly better, even at lower resolutions. Foliage on medium. Shadows on medium, textures on medium, and beauty sense on medium. I could crank this up with barely a performance hit. Those are basically the settings right now. It has pretty decent textures, pretty decent shadows. The edges are significantly better than FSR 3 with low anti-aliasing. The only issue that I noticed, big issue, that is pretty common, generally speaking, when moving the camera quickly, the game tends to drop pretty hard. But I took that into account, so it doesn't drop below 30 when I flip the camera super quickly. So in this case, my advice is to lock it to 30 FPS. While it's not perfect, I was expecting way worse than this. We're playing at 400p at the end of the day. It's still 50% 800p. But we can actually get pretty decent visuals, at least at the very beginning of the game. There's going to be combat later and all that, but this is only first impressions. Okay, so now we got into combat. I played a little bit of the game. There's some audio flickering sometimes, maybe related to the performance, because it's quite a bit unstable, especially when moving the camera quickly. But again, considering the system requirements that I saw, I was expecting way worse. Okay, more combat in a very dark environment. I think HDR will be super helpful right about now. Okay, we're scanning, but overall, from what I played, there were drops below 30 outside, but once I get inside, it's been okay. There's been quite a few drops though when I was running around going downstairs. Then it fixed itself right away. Not sure if it was area loading or something like that, but it was pretty annoying. I'll still just lock it to 30 FPS. The image quality, again, we're still playing at 400p, but hey, considering it's UE5, I was expecting way worse, especially outside. Alright, so I got indoors. Now I have a flashlight, I have a sword, all that cool stuff. Personally, I would lock it to 30 FPS just because of the inconsistency that you can find when it comes to moving the camera, attacking the enemies, just traversing in general. It can generally mean very easily to have inconsistent frame rates. The thing is, even using the in-game 30 FPS lock or the Steam Deck's FPS lock from the menu, you get uneven frame times. So if I go here to the frame limit and go directly to 30, my frame times are not fantastic. As you can see, they're pretty spiky, but I'm going to keep it at 30 just so the frame rate has some consistency to it. But it doesn't feel smooth, which is quite unfortunate. Just to show you combat very quick. Here it is. Again, very early into the game. And there's more like a puzzle section right here. So yeah, standing right here, this seems to be a place where the game is loading the next area or something. It hard locks to 15 FPS. But once you get down the stairs, it's completely fine. So I'm not entirely sure on what's going on there. That's when you come in from the outside. So that's the biggest one that I noticed. Only happens in this section. After that, it's being completely fine. So yeah, weirdness. Hopefully they fix that for the full game. But overall, indoors, it's been completely fine, other than those stairs. Okay, we continue after the dial. Very dark environments. So HDR here will help quite significantly. And again, the combat feels pretty basic. So far, it's the very beginning of the game, but that's okay. It's 3 months away, so who knows what's going to change. Okay, another one. Got him. Open the gates! Oh, before that, let's save. So yeah, apologies, the game is very dark and I'm in a light environment. This should give you like probably 2 hours and 20 minutes of battery from what I'm seeing up there with the 30 FPS cap. But so far it's not super difficult to run on deck. You gotta sacrifice resolution obviously, but I was expecting way worse than this. Alright, so back to the beginning of the game itself, that we're outside. It seems that outside is more demanding. The thing that dropped frames quite significantly for me was the first cutscene. That is, it crawls, it's like 10 FPS. Same thing with when the camera is lowering, that you can see into the distance for the first time before you control the character. That drops like a rock. So it's like 10 FPS, something like that. And well, what to say, so far, again, the game is 3 months away. I don't think they're going to make any huge change. I mean, it's still Unreal Engine 5 on a Steam Deck, but considering the system requirements that I saw, being able to crank up some stuff to medium, I think it's pretty impressive. The resolution is still 400p, so it's like performance upscaling. You can see the pixelation, but I think it looks decent enough, all things considered. What I'm not happy about is that when you move the camera quickly, it drops pretty hard, but you need a buffer of performance there. That's why I haven't targeted 30s in the beginning. I was like in the mid 30s instead. That's because when you move the camera, otherwise it'll drop into the 25 FPS range by just wildly moving the camera like this. This gives us some space to actually maintain 30s with the FPS lock, but the FPS lock in the game has lots of spikes in the frame time, and the one from the Steam Deck has weird spikes, not as bad as the one in-game, but it's still pretty noticeable. Overall, first impressions are better than I expected. I expected this to be hard locked to 10 FPS after seeing the requirements, but so far so good. This game is pretty weird, but I'm happy that I'm testing it out. Again, I was not going to try this on Steam Deck after seeing the requirements, but this is a good first impression. If it runs like this on Steam Deck, I think on PC it should be pretty easy to access. My biggest issue was that when I first started the game crashed on the intro cinematic. After that and restarting the game, it's been okay so far. So yeah, we'll play the game once it releases in September. Right now, you can play the demo if you want to. It's on Steam, very easy to find. It's a 10 GB download. But again, it's UE5 on a Steam Deck, so sacrifices are to be expected. That's what happens with portable stuff on basically one of the most advanced engines out there. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see ya next time. Bye guys.